You know, it looked a lot better in the dream. Hey, welcome back to more Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I'm SlayerMathis, and last time, we got here to Elysium and found out that it's not what we thought it would be. It's seen better days, let's just say. And this time we'll be exploring through Elysium. I spent a lot of time talking about how, last time about how good of an area Elysium is. And again, it's a very subdued area because it is only just, you know, this one area, but still. It's like there's no way through. I wonder what's past here. It's the highest point of all the rest, but there's so much space, it's kind of unbelievable. I mean, the fact that we just kind of get everyone's incredulous reactions also kind of helps lead to that. My past, it seems, such a massive space, people get around in it. Wish that there was an easier way to do this, but yeah, well. The construction of this wall reminds me of the sturdy walls in Thea's wall. But even beyond it, I'm sure nothing is waiting other than more rubble-strewn desolation, same as here. And then we move on to Tora. Bunch of rubble, and no match for Poppy's power. No, Tora, take it back. Please pay no mind to Tora. Tora realized only thing we find behind rubble is more rubble. And another thing that I like is just like, there's kind of this forlorn desolation. I'm really bringing out the thesaurus for this. Makes such a great gaping hole in the rock wall. Incredible. Technology here gives one pause. There's no match for the power of time passing. Like, it's, again, it's a very, it somehow manages to be both a calm and, you know, it's, sorry, manages to be both a, what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, like, kind of soothing, I guess. There's some other really obvious word that I'm just forgetting for it. But it manages to be both kind of almost welcoming, I guess maybe nostalgic? I mean, I don't think it's the best word, but it manages to both be, you know, something that is, you know, it manages to simultaneously be somewhere that you kind of want to explore, somewhere that kind of, it feels familiar, but at the same time, again, because everything is destroyed, it also feels wrong, and again, like, the endgame of Xenoblade 2 is so good. I still hold that up to Chapter 6 of Xenoblade 3 is the best writing in, like, any piece of media ever. I'll always hold that up. But I think that Xenoblade 2 might have one of the best endgames of any game. Just because, again, like, the stuff around Indol initially is kind of boring. Honestly, getting through Tantal is it's pretty meh. But once you leave Tantal, you go to, I mean, Cliffs of Morthar, they're a pretty meh destination. There's not really too much to it. But then you go to the land of Mortha, and it's this culture shock right away, where everything that you kind of expect from a, you know, again, from a mostly fantasy setting is just kind of thrown away. Then you get the World Tree, which, you know, that has a bunch of, it's kind of that same culture shock in a different way, and, you know, it's this much more high-tech area. It's very pristine. It's very clean, sanitized. And then you get to Elysium, and again, like, the area, it's like, after somewhere that has been, you know, ahead of the time, you know, after the World Tree, you have everything super futuristic. You have the low orbit station, that's even more futuristic somehow. And then you get to Elysium, which feels modern. You know, even Land of Mortha, maybe, I mean, that's a little bit more higher tech. You know, that's it's a proper city. While Elysium just kind of feels like a small town. I mean, maybe it's because I've only lived in small towns, well, relatively small. Not this small, like, this feels more like village than anything else, but that's semantics. And, you know, you get everything with Elysium here, and it's something that feels so homey. It feels very, again, there's some word that I'm looking for that I'm just not able to grab, and it's annoying me at this point. But it feels relatable almost, and to see everything destroyed, you know, you have dirt covering up everything, like, it's, you know, you see, there's times where you'll see in the real world, you know, a bunch of sand coming into a ghost town, you know, start burying things up, but, you know, maybe, you know, I'm not an expert on, you know, geology or topography or anything like that, but I would imagine that getting what looks like actual dirt, you know, this is proper dirt, it used to have grass in it, getting that to start covering everything, that's going to take a lot more time, I would assume. You have the cracks in the road, you have, you know, everything is destroyed all around the place. I mean, again, you can imagine this is just some town on the side of the road, you know, there's other places nearby. I mean, you know, we're still a ways away from the central city, but, excuse me, I was reading there, but, you know, it's this sort of stopping off point, you know, maybe it's more of a, you know, just like a nice last stop gas station before getting into the big city. Trying to see. Okay, no, it just has the central city on there. But, you know, you have a very, you know, it's just a quaint little town, and it's supposed to feel idyllic, and then you get here and it's ruined. And again, I've lived in small towns, you know, kind of buildings like this are what I'm used to seeing, so maybe I can relate to it a little bit more, and that's why I'm feeling a little bit more strongly about Elysium. Still, it's like a water tower. And this place used to be covered in trees and flowers like Gormott. And I mean, at this point, we have the party questioning if what they saw, you know, Rex questioning, rather, if what they saw was actually a dream. Tourists seen a tower like this in Gormott! Was Elysium like Gormott a long time ago? And everyone's kind of wondering that, is this really the place that we think it is? It's a water tower, right? What are those doing here? Where, again, you hear so much about Elysium and how it's going to be, you know, this great place, it's going to be the hope for everyone. And it's just, yeah, this was an old rest, it says for storing water. Who knows what the people living here might have stored in it. You have people who are ranging in doubts of, you know, clearly this is a water tower, but certainly that's not what it was meant for here. Suppose the people of Elysium store the water tower supply in towers just like we do ourselves. Perhaps in society we're not so as different as they may seem. And classic Bridget being fucking badass and being like, you know what, it's different, but I'm gonna take the... I love Morag so much. And again, the calm music really, I think, helps with the atmosphere. You have Land of Martha, which I do think Land of Martha is one of the most underrated songs on any of the Xenoblade soundtracks. But... oh, we're actually gonna get an intro card to Elysium, or...?
This place looks like it was once a city, and quite an old one at that.
It's actually a lot like the stuff we saw in Moritha.
Way more dusty, though. Maybe because it's so dry up here.
Huh?
It seems to have been a child's vehicle.
Right. So that means people lived here once.
It must have been a grand old city. It stretches further than the eye can see. You could fit the entire population of Allrest into this place, and with room to spare.
And again, this, you know, seeing you have a playground here, you have, you know, people, you know, just a bike sitting there. I mean, at that point, it feels like something had to happen for the, you know, for the bike to be left out there. And I mean, sure, there's, you know, the further city beyond, but I like the fact that Elysium took this more subdued approach and just kind of showed us a little bit of a suburb. Because, again, it feels a little bit more closely knit. It feels a lot more personal to have this tighter grip on what Elysium all has, on whatever happened is something that there were people involved. A lot of time with cities, you can kind of dissociate yourself from the fact that, you know, people have lived there. It's, you know, the urban jungle. There's so much going on that you can't really pay attention. You can't really see the small things. You're walking through a lot of office buildings. You're walking through, you know, destroyed highways. And sure, we have the destroyed road here, but, you know, down there we see, you know, that's obviously, again, it's very clearly a water tower. You have what's most likely a house here. You know, you have a playground right next to it. You have things that make the world feel lived in, or at least that it should be lived in. And the fact that it's not, the fact that it is so empty now, again, it leaves this somewhat bitter taste, but at the same time, I don't think the game goes overboard in trying to make you feel sad. I think it's, again, it's that bitter tone, but they're trying to make you realize just, this is the way that the world happened. You know, obviously there's storytelling, there's reasons why this happened, but, you know, kind of just being able to step back and just take a look at what everything is, on what that idyllic dream could really be, and how maybe it's not really what's supposed to be there. It's where people who live in Elysium would come to play. I don't really get how to use any of these. I mean, you get part of the, you know, the fact that they're fantasy characters, they don't know this stuff. I just like a park, but everything's super sturdy, not made of wood, that's for sure. No, they have metal buildings. I don't know what you're talking about, Zeke. Moradane is, like, full of metal. He uses things. Like training equipment or something. And then, kind of this... It's... I mean, I find this one a little bit humorous, but... You know, that you have something as simple as a park that's kind of confusing everyone. Meh, what's this place for? Training ground for drivers, maybe? You know, maybe it's just... You know, looking... This is one that's definitely looking into a bit too much, but... You know... The world's so war-torn that that's the only way everyone can think about this. Is this some park? Perhaps. I've never seen anything like these structures in the records of all rest. You have people that are looking around and, you know, they somewhat know what a park is, but it's not really something that crosses their mind. It's not something that's too really well known, too well looked at. So, something that, again, for the players feels just so commonplace. It feels different because the characters don't know what this is. They don't know the things that we do. They don't live in this same world. And the only experience that they have with this world is this destroyed, dusted up ruin of an entire town, of an entire city, when you look past the horizon. So, being able to see everything as it is, be able to see that, you know, maybe this would have been some great town in the past, you know, maybe this was somewhere that, you know, obviously people lived in here, and, you know, maybe this was a well-liked community, maybe this was somewhere that people always wanted to know, you know, hey, I can live here so, you know, my family can live well. But now there's no families here. It's, I mean, obviously, you know, it would be a bit much to not have any music, but, you know, you have the bell chiming every so often. I believe it chimes in... Actually, does it? It should. But the only sound ringing out from this entire town that, again, could have, you know, definitely could have housed a lot of people. The only thing left is a single lonely bell. And, you know, we don't know what's ringing it, we don't know why it rings. But it does. So, I mean, it's the only place that looks intact. I mean, of course, there's always going to be that...
Come out!
You know, maybe it's because whatever happened, you know, this building definitely looks a lot more... I'll get into it later.
Is that it? The bells have stopped.
A signal we should enter, perhaps?
We probably should.
Welcome home, my children.
Who's there?
Father?
What? You don't mean...
The architect is here, but where?
I am always here. Come to me.
Please look! Over there is staircase.
It seems to lead to a lower level.
Guess we have to.
The old temple engine. I mean, the last thing standing in whatever, this,
Treasure
this
acquired.
town that was, as we saw in the dream, very vibrant. The only thing left standing is a small little chapel. He calls it a temple, I mean, like, yes, technically, but, obviously there's always going to be, refuge. It definitely is in better shape than any other building that's in this town.
You're all mine.
But even then, even if, this was the last place that people lived in, even if this was the last solace that anyone had who was living in this town, it still ended up falling to time. And as well preserved as people might have wanted it, you still have, dirt filling the ceiling. You still have, the pews are disheveled, they're broken. And again, we don't really know what happened here, and I think that's for the best. Not necessarily because, like, oh, it's something so horrifying, you don't want to know. No, I think this is just something that, not having that knowledge, I think kind of just leans into more. You can make your own story with this. Maybe the people, maybe there was a drought that happened, people started to starve, maybe, whatever it was that Klaus did, maybe, that completely screwed up everything up here. Maybe people just eventually started dying off here. Maybe, we don't know what happened. But what matters is that end result, that everything is in ruins, and there's really nothing we can do about it but move onwards. It kind of ruins that by having the, the big futuristic look. I would have liked if they maybe kind of blended the aesthetic a little bit more, but whatever. It's like a pipe organ. It's not making me sound now. We'll finish up with this. Again, I forgot how much I loved Elysium as an area. No go. Won't make a sound. Sad, really. If it was still working, I could have given everyone a taste of the Xenoblade 5th. And, I mean, the game's still gotta keep a little bit of a light spirit up with Zeke. Is it you, Jorgen? It's busted. Shame, I'll play a little tune. Terrible at the Welsh accent. And the Scottish one at that. Very similar. Jorgen. I just think it must have sounded before. Morag being an appreciator of the fine arts. Giga Chad, Morag. Oh, this looks like organ! Same thing, something's here, same as World of Torah and Friends. But, with all of that, I think we need to wake up from the dream. Next time, we advance towards the Architect's voice. But until then, see you guys later.